Have you ever stopped to think about why you can argue for a better price on a shirt in a crowded market, but your electricity bill? Well, that price is non-negotiable. It's like these are two totally different universes of business, right? Well, you're not wrong. They are. So let's get into it and figure out exactly what creates these very different worlds. So picture this. On one side, you've got a place like the Logan Market in Lagos. You see dozens, maybe hundreds of vendors. They're all selling pretty similar shirts, and they're all fighting for your attention, for your cash. Then on the other side, you've got your local power company. One single seller, one power grid. And if you want electricity, you've got to buy from them, period. This sharp contrast, it's really the key to understanding how our whole economy is put together. So what is going on here? What's the secret sauce that creates these polar opposite situations? That is the big question we're going to tackle in this explainer. And the answer, it all comes down to something called market structures. But before we can break that down, we need to be on the same page about what a market even is. And here's a little hint. It's not always a physical place you can just walk into. You see, a market is really just any system, any place, physical or digital, that lets buyers and sellers connect and make a deal. It could absolutely be a physical spot like Wasi Market, but it's also an online giant like Jumia or even a service platform like Fiverr. If goods or services are being exchanged, you're looking at a market. So think of every single market like a recipe, and this recipe has three main ingredients. First up, how many sellers are there? Second, how similar are the products they're selling? And third, how easy or hard is it for a new business to jump in and start competing? The unique mix of these three things sets the rules of the game for everybody. And when you mix those ingredients in different ways, you get four main types of market structures. The best way to think about them is on a spectrum, kind of like a sliding scale, from the most intense cutthroat competition you can imagine, all the way to no competition at all. And here's a quick look at where we're headed. This is your cheat sheet for the four big ones: perfect competition, monopolistic competition, oligopoly, and monopoly. We're going to walk through each one, starting with the most competitive. All right, let's start at the most crowded, most chaotic end of the spectrum. This is perfect competition. This is the world of those shirt sellers we were talking about, but turned up to 11. In this kind of market, you have a ton of sellers, and they're all pushing products that are basically identical. Because of that, no single seller has any real power to dictate the price. I mean, if one person tries to charge you just a little bit more, you'll just walk 2 steps and buy from their neighbor. The price is set by the market as a whole, through good old supply and demand. This is where it clicks. Just imagine a massive agricultural market. You've got hundreds of people selling tomatoes. At the end of the day, a tomato is a tomato, right? So they all have to sell at pretty much the exact same market price. That right there is perfect competition in the real world. Okay, let's take one step down the spectrum. This is where things start to get a bit more creative. We're now in the world of monopolistic competition, and honestly, this is probably the type of market you deal with the most every single day. Now, just like perfect competition, there are still a lot of sellers. But here's the game-changing difference. Their products are differentiated. They're not identical. And that little bit of difference, whether it's better quality, a cooler style, or just really clever branding, it gives each seller a little bit of power over their own price. Think about it. Restaurants, they all sell food, sure, but they're not all the same. An upscale Italian place isn't competing on price with a local bucca. The same goes for hair salons, tailors, you name it. They compete on service, on vibe, on quality, not just on who's the cheapest. All right, now we're moving into the land of the giants. This is an oligopoly, and this is a market that's run by just a small handful of really big companies. In an oligopoly, it's super hard for a new company to even get in the door. The costs are too high, the regulations are too tough. The few companies that do exist are locked in this constant strategic dance. Sometimes they compete like crazy with huge ad campaigns. Other times they might quietly work together to keep prices high. It's a high-stakes chess match. You want to see a perfect picture of this? Just look at Nigeria's telecom industry. It's a classic oligopoly. You have a couple of titans like MTN and Airtel controlling a massive chunk of the market. Any decision they make about data plans or pricing literally affects millions of us and defines the whole industry. And it's not just in Nigeria. Think about the global soft drink market. For as long as most of us have been alive, it's been the Coca-Cola versus Pepsi show. Sure, other brands exist, but those two giants call the shots. And so, we finally arrive at the far end of our spectrum. One seller, zero competition. We've reached the monopoly. In a monopoly, one single company has complete control over a product or a service. There are no other options, no close substitutes. And this means they become a price maker, not a price taker. They don't have to ask what the market price is, they tell you what the price is. Because really, where else are you gonna go? And we're right back where we started. That electricity example, that's your local distribution company, your disco. It's a textbook monopoly. Another great example is a drug company that gets a patent for a new life-saving medicine. For a while, they are the only ones on the planet who can sell it. Now, you're probably thinking, wait a minute, monopolies and oligopolies sound like they could be pretty bad for us consumers. And you'd be right. But sometimes they're allowed to exist because it's just more efficient. Think about having 5 different companies trying to build 5 different power grids down your street. That's why we need a referee. This is where governments step in. They create agencies, like the Nigerian Communications Commission for the telecoms, or the FCCPC for consumer rights in general, to watch over these less competitive markets. Their job is to protect us, the consumers, from crazy prices and to try and stir up competition wherever they can. Okay, so we've journeyed all the way from a market with hundreds of sellers down to a market with just one. So what? Why does any of this actually matter in your everyday life? Well, it matters more than you might think. The structure of any given market directly hits your wallet. It determines the prices you pay for, well, everything, from your lunch to your data plan. It influences the quality of the things you buy, and maybe most importantly, it decides how much choice or how little choice you actually have. So now you have this new way of seeing the economic world all around you. So I'll leave you with a question to chew on. When you think about this whole spectrum, from perfect competition all the way to a total monopoly, which one of these worlds do you think gives you, the consumer, the best possible deal? Something to think about.